break. It's 33 past 8, which definitely implies 27 minutes to the top of the hour. That is over 9 a.m. Of course, we're still having discussions regarding budget aspects here to get you the right information. I'm still with Claire at Kunda, who's going to be shedding further light. But before I get to her, don't forget the Markets on the Zabo platform, which I've already opened as I speak. And for you to be a part of this, you simply just have to dial *292# and you'll be available with a number of options where you will be able to buy government bonds and securities for as little as 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Zabo made this a reality. There is no excuse in the 21st century as to why you shouldn't own bonds and securities. It's a necessity, an aspect with which Zabo, a platform from Altex, made necessary and easy. Well, as we proceed, Claire, as we're back, let's talk about the agro-industrialization, because I'm seeing it has a 5.4% share, according to that. And you being into food, some food programs, food security and all that. And, well, how do you really see that? Is it sufficient enough? In my opinion, I feel like it would have been more than that, in my opinion.
True. you know the whole development plan of the country, the national development plan is actually embodied and founded on agriculture.
Very true.
And even if you look at the theme of this year's budget, full monetization of the economy through industrialized
agro-industrialization, true.
So if you look at this money, when we look at 5.4% of the total budget, and like I have already highlighted to you, not the 5.4 of this. Does it really cater, or will it really help us to achieve the industrialized agriculture? My answer is no. No. This money is still very, very little, and actually, through this budget process, we've had an interesting outcome where the funds the budget that was going to extension workers was cut off. So I am expectant. I hope that the president may say, please put it back.
Supplementary.
Yes, so that is, but we have seen that cut is very, very instrumental. We think, and it will impact the agriculture sector, being that we are even promoting PDM and extension services are primary, especially if you're saying we would want to go from subsistence agriculture to modernized agriculture. And of course, we look at the increasing levels of food insecurity. And for me, I would like to think that food insecurity should not be an issue, should not be like, what is it called, this calamity it is befalling us without knowing, especially in a country that has a lot of resources which can be utilized.
Fertile soils and
so it is actually very sad and immoral that somebody can actually sleep hungry in a country like this. But this is due to budgets like this, because when you don't have budgets, then you can't implement. Yes. So and we look at this budget. Yes, it is not sufficient to meet the food needs of the people, and also looking at agro-industrialization being the primary contributor to exports. It contributes about a quarter. So will this money actually improve the export basis? And that we have been facing a lot of issues with the market exports, and
because of the quality.
Yes, quality. You look at our maize that has been rejected by all countries around. So there are all these issues that are in the industrialization program that I actually don't think this budget is adequate.
And a story was told of some gentleman from the private sector saying they went to South Africa and they were given some coffee. Coffee was really good, and of course, when they checked on the origins of the coffee, it was showing that it's coming from some country in Europe. But they made a further investigation and realized that actually that coffee was coming from Uganda. But somebody, because of their established agro-industrialization framework, structure in the country, they got our raw material, the coffee, they improved it to some excellency, and now they sold it back as it's originating from their country. And I think that really poses a lot. What even the president actually also discussed, I remember, when he said we get about $2.5 okay, like he was trying to say, a product that you export in a raw state vis-a-vis the product that is value added, you know, the amount of money. And these people are taking credit of our hard work and all that.
True.
So don't you really think, okay, I know this allocated aspect is little, but if we utilize the little we have, and don't you think if we utilize the little we have, we get those funds, invest them back to the farmers, you know, we teach them these aspects of how to transition from subsistence to commercial. Don't you think, you know, our agro-industrialization might have a certain degree of a shift?
Yes, that I cannot dispute. I can't say totally it can't be done because we are looking at where need is highest.
Need is highest,
yes. And I know this budget is prioritizing value addition.
Yeah.
So with we can hope that if that money is utilized correctly, it can actually yield something. But also, like I have already highlighted, what is this? Who is supposed to teach the farmer?
Who's supposed to teach the farmer?
You're supposed to grow this, or you're supposed to ensure the quality or improve the yield of your crop like this.
Yeah.
Who is supposed to do that? And that is the extension worker.
Okay.
So how is this money, of what percentage of this money that is allocated is actually going to extension services?
Okay.
So, and that is why I was telling you that the budget cut for extension poses a lot of risk.
A huge risk.
Yes.
So it might impact some sectors like agriculture.
So of course it impacts agriculture because everything, we always say that extension is the heart and soul of agro-industrialization. When you don't have extension, then I mean, even if you want to modernize it, based on what?
Okay.
So those are the things we are looking at. But yes, agro-industrialization has the capacity to actually develop the economy, to even contribute. And when we look at even, we have about the people that are practicing agriculture in Uganda, priority of the population is in agriculture.
Absolutely.
Which means if we harness these efforts, looking at women, looking at youth, and where they are compounded, we could actually yield something. But like I already said, you need streamlined structures. Efficient structures, yes.
Very interesting. I see climate change, natural resource environment, and water management. 426 billion.
Yes.
What do we have? What's your opinion on that? Because it's one of the climate change has been one of the talks which have been globally, and we've also seen climate change financing programs globally.
Actually, I think that this budget, this program has actually, the program of water and climate change and environment has actually had budget cuts in this financial year from the last financial year. So, and of course, we realize we've been having a lot of climate change issues. When you look at, you know, Massacre Road.
The issue that happened, I mean, it was,
Every year, you know, we have landslides popping up and people think, yes, it's, you know, and people are running to get interventions. But this is where we should actually be putting our money that to address all these issues that come with water, land, and natural resource management. That we invest so that we stop having these out of the blue calamities. At this point in time, we shouldn't have like flooding in the Rwenzori region surprising us. You know, because that is, we should be prepared for these incidences. We shouldn't have food insecurity shocking us or landslides in the, you know. These things shouldn't be, because they happen almost every single year. So we should be investing. We should be investing, and we prioritize to actually put in money so that we stop these things where a landslide happens and we are looking for supplementary budget. And that is what actually increases our debts. Because without proper planning, we just go to ad hoc methods, and you find...
Because we need a quick money to solve something.
Yes. Wow. And before you know it, our debt will actually be more than what we have to to actually utilize in the country.
And I even feel like lots of people are affected. Now, like, remember what the example you gave of the massacre, the Katonga flooding on that bridge. I mean, quite lots of businesses were halted. Looking at, because majority of the food that comes in from those countries, I mean, that is consumed in town, comes in from those areas, the matoke and all that. And there was quite some sort of a delay. And remember, some of these are perishable products, and you're likely to make losses, something which is very dangerous. But all that, why? Lack of planning. Because with planning, you will know that actually this bridge, it's not going to be sufficient enough in the coming times, and all this, so you plan accordingly.
True.
But anyway, I want to know, according to the last year, how have we been performing when you observe? How have we been doing when it comes to engaging ourselves in climate change related activities? Because why I'm saying this is that is the basis in which we can attract global climate financing from within our country, Uganda. Do we really stand a chance of qualifying at some point, being noticed?
Yes. You see, that topic of climate change in Uganda still remains foreign.
Foreign?
Yes. Climate change seems to be an aspect that only the elite understand. A specific group of people
Some people say it's a
understand. And when you go down to the communities and you ask them what is climate change, most don't know what climate change is, and yet they are the primary victims of climate change impacts. So I think for us in Uganda, the first thing we have to do is how do we localize this climate change agenda? How do we bring it to the perspective of the common person that, what, if you expected rain in March and it came in May, that is not just, it didn't just happen, something led to it. So we have to localize climate change for people to understand, to create public awareness, down to the common person, understand that they can actually work on it. And I know that climate financing is actually now coming up. I know in the UN they have established funds for climate change. But even those funds, accessing them is very hard, and it has to go through ministries like Ministry of Water, for which we are talking about this budget. So they have to also even be capacitated to understand about what are the opportunities that are arising in the global sphere and how can they be utilized. And so having the system, the ministry and the downward system understanding all these aspects so that we utilize these opportunities that are coming is also very, very pertinent.
Very quite interesting. Climate change. Anyway, now 426 billion, do you think is sufficient enough for the Ministry of Water to execute that mandate, to localize, all this? Because I've not really seen them much do community reach out to some aspects. Maybe it's because of the climate change aspect which has not been taken as much more serious. But do you really think 426 billion is sufficient enough to execute those activities to attract climate financing?
And I would like us to realize that this whole program is not just about climate change. There is water, and we are looking at water for agro-industrialization, and we are also looking at water for human capital development. Then we also have land management. We have natural resources. Then you now bring in climate change. So this money is widespread. It is going everywhere. So if you're looking at it, the water issues we have. How many communities in Uganda, rural communities, are looking actually have water? When you look at wash services in Uganda, how are they looking like? When they tell you the coverage of wash is like maybe 80-something%, but when you look at how many people have toilets, hand washing equipment, how many people can access water within 1 kilometer, and all those things, they can actually have those compounded needs. We are still far behind. And if you look at even the annual report from Ministry of Water for the last financial year, this was actually highlighted. So now, coming back to climate change, that we need a lot of effort as a country. We need a lot of effort even to look at outside external financing of climate change. And of course, input from the ministry and the program at large to invest actually in climate change solutions. Yes.
Well, as we're about to wind up, maybe let's talk about we are in phase 3 of the National Development Plan 3.
Sure.
And I believe once the stakeholders are planning all this, I mean, they need to put into consideration the programs which are already in place to rhyme along with the budget. Do you think this budget has succeeded in rhyming with the National Development Plan 3, despite the fact that we are winding it up anytime?
This is very interesting. You know, we are in the midterm. They have just done the midterm review of the National Development Plan 3. And this budget, you know, the budget committee did an analysis. And it is stalling.
Okay.
The rate at which we are moving to achieving the development plan 3 is stalling very, very much.
Okay.
So we have, so unless we put it and reprioritize our strength,
okay,
the development plan 3 may not be achieved. Even when you look at the GDP targets of the development plan 3, they are still currently below the targets that the current targets of the development plan.
Okay.
When you look at priorities under different programs, there is still a long way to go to actually meet the development plan. And we know that now development plan 4 is now underway.
It's underway.
The roadmap is coming in. So it is more like, yes, we have learned from the development plan 3. How do we now go into
4, transition?
Yes.
Effectively. Interesting. Now, as we wind this up, when I look at the budget allocations here, community mobilization and mindset change seems to have been undermined. Okay, I don't want to say it was undermined, but anyway, the figures, that's what they show us, because it's the last. Yet, this aspect, like you told me before, it seems to be one of those things that have transformed nations, which we admire today.
True.
You know? What's your take on that, the mindset change?
You know, the mindset, the community mobilization and mindset change program has actually had 180%
180%.
cuts.
The most cuts.
The
actually.
highest cuts registered for this financial year. And it has the lowest budget, if you look at it, about 35 billion. So, and yet this is actually the core of when we talk about our transforming from a peasant country to economy, to a modernized economy. We need mindset change. We need, from subsistence farming, you need mindset change. From the food and nutrition perspective, we need a whole lot of social behavior change, communication and mobilization. Look at things like WASH. Look at even agro-industrialization depends on mindset change. And I know that human capital development, the health subsector, is actually moving from a curative approaches to preventive approaches, which also need mindset change. But alas, when you look at the budget, it is still not as prioritized as it should be. And also looking at the fact that community mobilization, this program actually houses social protection programs under Ministry of Gender. So, and these are programs that are supposed to reach down to the common person. So if this money that is actually entailed to reach down to the people is actually the least, then you see that there is a problem.
Quite a huge one. And actually, you realize that everything runs on mindset change for anything, actually, because even when it comes to even the people that are responsible to disburse of these funds to the different personalities, and also the responsibility, these people, like if I know that I'm getting this amount of money, I need to have a certain change of mindset to know the responsibility I hold when it comes to distributing this income to all this money somewhere else. And
that is true, that mindset change, especially at a time like this, is not just for the the rights holders, the people. It is also for the duty bearers, the people in power, the people in government, to actually learn how to even utilize and implement some of these programs. So it is not just about the people need to learn. The people need to learn, but what do the people in power actually need to learn?
Because this program is also
for them.
That is key.
Yeah.
Well, your last remarks on this budget.
My last remarks on this budget. One, we need to balance our budget as a country.
Okay.
And this is more so we should reduce our appetite for debts.
The debts.
The debts are slowly killing us. Yes, absolutely. I know that we have a debt sustainability plan, but still, if you realize that out of 52, only 25 is available, it is still not as good.
As good.
Yes. Yeah. So we need to reduce that. We need to address our domestic areas. The amount of money that, that is of loans domestically, we are slowly constraining the private sector. Yes. And we need to have equitable and responsive budgeting.
Okay.
And here I mean that we need to put into consideration the needs of the people.
The people.
Yes. When the people should speak to the budget. When we look at the budget, it should be speaking to the needs of the people.
Yeah.
Yes. And of course, as a food advocate, there is need for improved nutrition financing. There is need we need to invest in nutrition. Nutrition, actually malnutrition is the worst form of poverty. That you are so poor you can't afford to buy the food you want to eat. It is so saddening. So we need to invest in nutrition as a preventive approach, even towards achieving agro-industrialization, human capital development, because it impacts all those. So, and of course, know how to plan and program as a country. Invest in strategies that actually meet the needs of the people.
Thank you so much. A very beautiful insight in there from Claire Kunda, the programs manager, that is for Food Right Alliance. Well, it's 5 minutes to the top of the hour, that is at 9, and now we're going to get into the break. Yes, but before we get there, the markets on the Zabo platform already operating. Start to 92 hash is simply the USSD code for you there, for you to be a part of them. You'll be available with a number of options where you'll be able to buy government bonds and securities for as little as 15,000 Ugandan shillings. The markets open at 8:15 a.m., closing at 3:15 p.m. West African time, Monday up to Friday, except on the weekends and the public holidays when you can access these markets. But anyway, despite the fact you have the rest of the 5 days to capitalize and make yourself quite some huge lots of money. Now, Zab made this a reality. It's the 21st century, the century of trading stocks and earning money, a side income. It's very key in such an economy. Let money work for you. Let your money work for you. Now, Zabo simply says, my money, my future, and all that East Africa says, do something new for yourself in the year 2023. At 4 minutes to the top of the hour, let's get into the break and definitely our insight in the pipeline when we return.